The year was 1928. Charline Hamblin is born in Corpus Christi, Texas. Her life changed as a young woman when she went to register for classes at Del Mar College in Corpus Christi. In line behind her was a young man named Red McCombs.
She was in line in front of him, he was behind her, and always said that he recognized her as a lovely lady, but he especially that day was looking at her legs, and he wanted to get to know her. Even the last week of her life, he recounted that story to her, and she got embarrassed even then and said, "Oh, don't talk about that."
3 years later, in 1950, they were married. By 1958, the young couple had moved to San Antonio so Red could start his car business. As the 1960s came around, Charline and Red now had 3 daughters, and Charline built her life around home and family.
Our mom was the mom of the 60s. She took care of all of us. She took care of the house, but she also helped us understand the importance of what our father was doing. We had a special family thing where after school, when we were really young, might even take a nap because we all had dinner together every night. That was something that was very important to both of them, but I think my mom really orchestrated that.
Times were changing in the 60s. America's youth were taking a very different path from their parents, but Charline kept that path straight for her girls.
She is the one who took us to see the Beatles in the early 60s. She often would take us to do things that were part of the 60s, but were good parts and fun parts.
The McCombs name was becoming a San Antonio staple, with Red's car business, media acquisitions, sports teams, and ranching. Charline loved it all.
Ranching, who would have thought that she would enjoy every one of the Longhorns? She would want to know about its lineage. She enjoyed the car business. She was the ultimate hostess, and it didn't matter what the event was. She was glad to host it, or she was delighted to go.
By the early 1970s, the McCombs owned the Spurs, and Charline was the team mother.
She developed a really great rapport with the basketball players and with the Spurs, and certain ones in particular. She had her boyfriends, that she'd call them.
Charline also loved her community and was a driving force behind the Charline McCombs Empire Theater renovation.
Through Jossie Strauss, she had learned that the theater was in disrepair, and after visiting the theater, and I went with Mom to visit the Empire, it was a shambles. And so she went home to my dad and said, "We've got to save this little jewel box of a theater." So Dad agreed, and they did. And she loved it so much, and that really started her relationship also with Las Casas Foundation, which is now the Majestic Empire Foundation.
Through the Las Casas Foundation, Charline became involved in the scholarship program for performing arts students.
She met most of them competing in the Jossie Awards for scholarships, and she thought that was so important.
Charline and Red donated millions of dollars to make San Antonio and South Texas a better place. The UT softball stadium is named after the couple. Southwestern University's Residential Center and MD Anderson's Institute for the Early Detection and Treatment of Cancer bear her name, as does the Charline McCombs Media Center here at KLRN. But Charline's greatest joy was her family.
She loved Red. If you see any pictures of them together, it's fascinating because they're looking at each other in this special, loving way, and it wasn't posing for the camera. Those are just candid shots. They just found a way to develop a life together that was truly special.
Charline McCombs passed away in 2019 at the age of 91.
I think she'd want to be remembered as a loving wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. She was the center of the universe for our entire family, and that was her real joy.